Darts. What are they and why do we need them? We need them because we need to make a two-dimensional flat shape become three-dimensional. So what a dart is actually doing, here's a back dart, is taking away surplus fabric which isn't needed. So to shape around the bust, for instance, and make it fit nicely, we need to take away surplus fabric so it becomes shaped around our body. This is a half-scale block which I'm going to use for the purpose of this video. But before we use that, let's think about what a dart is. So here's a flat shape, and if I wanted to make that become three-dimensional, i.e. it was going to fit round a three-dimensional form like our bodies, I need to do something to it. So I've gone and cut into the centre, and if I overlap those two edges, suddenly it becomes a three-dimensional shape. For instance, a shape that can fit around the bust. So I've had to take away surplus cardboard here, or if it was in fabric, surplus fabric, to make it become three-dimensional. So you could say I'll put a dart into the cone. Now I needn't leave my dart there. I could move it and I could put my dart here. So I cut into the centre point, i.e. the bust point. My dart's changed position, but it's still the same shape when I close it up. So if I close that one up as well, oops, a bit tricky, I'll try a new shape. Let's try a new circle. So if I make it three-dimensional again, like we would if we were fitting around the body, let me just put some masking tape on to hold that. I could either cut it again like I did on this one in a different position, so the dart is still there, but it's just moved, or I could actually draw a completely different shape, but pass through what would be the bust point. And now I could, because I've got to take this three-dimensional shape to become two-dimensional again, so I can cut it out in paper, make a pattern, and then cut out my fabric. So I could have a shape, two shapes like that, which now sit flat because they're two-dimensional, but if I was to sew this back together again, it would come back to the shape of the cone. So that's basically what a dart's doing. We're going from two-dimensional to three-dimensional. So if we come back to our half-scale blocks, this is the front, where we've got a waist dart coming in from the waist, and we've got a shoulder dart coming in from the shoulder, but both the apex of those darts are coming towards the bust point, which is here. And on the back, there's a shallower, slightly shallower dart, which is coming up to the apex here, which is for the shoulder blade. What if I wanted to move those darts? Because I don't want a waist dart or a shoulder dart. I might want a dart that comes in from the side seam, or I might want a dart that comes in from the neckline, whatever my design is. So I've drawn out, I've copied, should I say, the block onto some paper so that we can see what happens. So just like with the circle, if I was going to, let's move the dart. What if I wanted a dart to come in from the side seam? A dart never comes all the way to the bust point. It sits back a little bit, because if it came right to the bust point, it would be very pointy. You'd get really pointed shape. And we want the fabric to just fall softly over the bust point. So it always comes back probably a couple of centimetres if you're working on full scale. So first thing to do is to mark where you want that new dart shape. I want it to come in from the side. So how do I move that? There is a way of doing that flat on the table, drawing round and closing your dart. But I'm going to show it by cutting it, because then you can see what happens. And you cut to the bus point, not to the end of the dart. So if I close that dart out, so take away the surplus fabric, and you can see that suddenly it's lifting here because it's becoming three-dimensional. But I don't want this dart either. I don't want the shoulder dart. So I'm going to close that as well. When I say I don't want it, what I want to do is I want to move it. So I need to close them out first. So there we go. There's our little there's our little shape with the bust shape going on here. It's suddenly become three-dimensional. But that's no good because I can't sit it flat on the fabric. So I need to open up the dart where I want my new one. I want my new dart to be here. So cut up the bust point, and all of a sudden my paper sits flat again, and there's my dart. So if I was going to make a pattern from this, I would draw round, because this is still a block, there's no seam allowances on it. I would fold the paper so I close the dart, and then I would cut the side seam, because what will happen is you'll get an angle here, and the easiest way of knowing how that angle should sit is by folding your dart before you cut the side seam. So let's just do one more. Say I wanted a dart to come in from the neck. You'll find a lot of these drawings of where darts can go in your pattern cutting book. So again, I need to close these darts out. Oh, I've got to cut it up to the bust point. My mistake. Right. So close that. Now I could keep that dart. I could have two darts, one coming in from the shoulder, one coming in from the neck. So all I would need to do is cut my new dart. So I'll have two darts. There we go. So I could have a shoulder dart and a neck dart there. Or if I wanted to close that one out, again cut into the bust point. I think by seeing it cut like this, you can actually see what's happening to the dart. Though we're not changing the shape of the little bodice at all. What we're just doing is moving the dart position. There we go, that would be the dart. But I could have another dart coming in from the armhole, or coming here. Yeah, let's do that. So let's cut up from here again to the bust point. Oops, missed the bust point. And I could have two darts. Always keeping the grain running down the centre front.